Part 4 of sewing the Penelope, which is making the panties. Making the panties is like sewing in a zipper. Hear me out. It is that last step that even though you do like 90% of the steps, for some reason you just like struggle with the last 10%. Now maybe you're a very good sewist and you were doing these steps in between as you were sewing the teddy and the bodysuit, which I like to do with panties, because once I sew a bra, a bodysuit, a teddy, I'm like, I finish, I'm like, I don't really want to make the panties, like I'm done, I'm mentally checked out. But if you do the steps, like as you're doing the fold over elastic on the teddy, do the fold over elastic on the panty, you can kind of combine the steps so that you finish the bra and panty at the same time. Super helpful tip. If I wasn't doing this so long, that's what I would be doing. But, so let's get right into it. The first step is you're gonna sew fold over elastic along this edge. Not gonna show it because I showed it to you in the previous videos and it is the same application. Fold over elastic is sewn on the left and right edge of the front panty. Next step is to place your lace side panels on top. And it's meant to overlap the center front panty quarter of an inch. So it's not supposed to be next to, it's supposed to be overlapping just a hair. And by hair, I mean a quarter of an inch. I'm going to tack that down, just a straight stitch back and forth a couple times. And then after I do that, I'm gonna attach the front to the back at the side seams as well as the gusset seam. When I do the gusset seam, I'm also going to put the crotch lining in as well. Front panty sewn to back panty at the side seams as well as the gusset or crotch seam. Prefer gusset seam versus crotch seam, but tomato, tomato. So the next step is to sew fold over elastic along the leg holes and as well as the waistline. Now you could use the narrow elastic interchangeably. So you can use the wide elastic here at the waistline and the narrow elastic at the leg openings, or vice versa. When I was writing the instructions for the Penelope, I knew that trying to explain how to sew fold over elastic for these openings was going to be so difficult. And I admit that they are very sparse when it comes to this instruction on how to sew it here, the fold over elastic. But I knew that I would go into it with the sew along, because showing it to you on video is so much easier to understand than try to put it into words. So you will apply the fold over elastic same way you did for the rest of the Penelope on the waistline. But here, what you want to keep in mind is, I know that there are some sewers who are going to want a distance, like how much should this measure? Should this measure 2 1/4 or like 3 1/2? Like I'm just using arbitrary numbers here. What is most important is that your lace and your panty lies flat. The reason why I didn't give measurements is, let's just say like you sewed something a little bit more than what was instructed and you were so tied down to this measurement that it's 2 1/4, but like what if like that makes this like buckle like that, you know? So priority at this step is that the lace panels are lying flat. Then you'll measure here to here and try to get them exactly the same if possible. Perfection's overrated, so it's off like 1/8 of an inch. That's okay. And when you're sewing it, you're gonna, once you determine like how big this should be, you're going to pin it here and pin it here. For the first pass, now I have the panty right side face up only to show this step to you, but for when you actually do it, you'll have the panty wrong side face up, because that's how you sew fold over elastic. So you can either continue your zigzag stitches, just continue sewing, you're not sewing through anything, but you can just continue sewing your zigzag stitches, or you can sew your zigzag stitches here, back stitch, and then start it up again, back stitch here, and then sew the whole thing. Totally up to you. But the key thing here is that you want the lace to lie flat because that is priority. Then you will determine what the opening should be, making sure that they match on either side as close as possible. If one's 2 1/4 and one's 2, nobody will notice. And then pin your elastic and sew the fold over. I think that is the best way to do it so that everything lays flat and lays nice and clean. Penelope panty, finished, complete, done. I hope that you found this sew along very helpful. Of course, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to pop them in the comments below or email hello@madeline.com.